Let's bring in our star of the hour, Fesi Sitake. He's been busy over the last several months building up the depth in BYU's receiver room. He's not only the receivers coach, but also the passing game coordinator as the Cougars prepare for the Big 12. And it's our pleasure to welcome Fesi Sitake to the Wise Guys. Coach, thank you. Thanks for working your schedule so you can hang with us for a little bit.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Listen, what is it like being the other Sitake on the staff?
Oh, it's good, man. It's just get to hide in the shadows, of the main one.
When an angry fan calls in demanding Coach Sitake, does Kalani direct those calls to you, or do you direct the calls to him?
It depends on the tone. If it's coming to me, I direct it to him. If it's coming to him, he's directing to me. But that's why we like going by first names as well with the players and fans. Makes it easier.
So it's always been, I think, the best feeling for me to play with my cousin Joe. When I was a sophomore, he was a freshman in our junior college, and I was junior college. And I played at some historic venues and against some historic teams. And still, that year was probably the most special because I had, my family with me. So, when it comes to you and Kalani, how can you describe, that feeling of going to battle, going to war each and every day, week in and week out, with somebody that's close to you?
It's hard to describe, but I'll say this: when we're at work, it's you don't have time to think about that. We're locked into our craft, but often and more recent, I've been doing it a lot where you just kind of take a step back and realize, man, this is a blessing. It's a blessing to work with family and so many other great people whom I've associated with. But specifically with family, there's nothing like it. And it's one of the reasons I do not feel like I go to work at all every day.
What is the funniest interaction the two Sitakes have had on this staff?
Ooh. That's a hard one. You put me on. We have so many. That's a hard one.
Now you guys are laughing most of the time.
Yeah,
I do know that.
Yeah, I would say just the first thing that comes to my head is because Pops, Kalani's dad is basically full-time staff member hanging around the office. Most of our laughs are involved around him and just contemplating on, or reflecting on the things, old memories and stuff he's currently doing. And so that's been the most recent stuff that's been pretty funny.
There's a bond with you and Kalani, and I think it was documented really well in the Deep Blue that the two of you did, that folks can see at byutv.org. And the relationship is different than relatives. And I want to talk about that for just a moment. When his folks split and the mom left the picture, he says in that Deep Blue, and I know because we know Kalani, that was real hard on him. And hard on the dad, and your dad brought them into your house, and now all of a sudden two families have merged, and so you grew up as brothers. And then when your mom became sick and passed away, Kalani had the opportunity to support you in a different kind of way, and it makes a bond that I would like you to describe. What is it like?
Yeah, so initially when there was a lot of questions about our relation, when you look at it literally in the Tongan language, there's no direct translation to the word cousin. And so everyone just kind of goes by brothers, and you grow up in same villages. And so there's the cultural aspect of that. And then there's the experiential one where we, with our circumstances, with our mothers, from when Kalani was born to when I was born, my mom came down with a sickness, and I was not able to have the mom that Kalani had, from my mom. And so she was able to, in a rough time during his life, be the mother that he didn't have. And it's really cool now with the perspective I have and where I'm at to look back and realize just the value of that. When we were growing up and we were super close, and I was just hanging around with Kalani and our other brother TJ here in Provo around BYU, it was just like, we're family, we're hanging around. I really didn't know the impact that she had on him. And then in reading her journals, later on in life, I see, what she's doing with Kalani and all of his siblings. And it's just a really cool dynamic that's really just forged this really strong connection. And so Kalani, as mentioned in the Deep Blue, and those guys did a great job with that production, you can tell it was just part of his mission was to give me what my mother gave him. And he's done that and has been unbelievable to me in my life. So many blessings and have come from him and our relationship. And so I'm just one of the reasons it makes going to work and working with him so great, just because the impact he's had on my life.
When you go back to when you were kids, at what point did you go, hey, it's kind of cool to have Kalani as my older brother?
Yeah. Well, I'm still trying to answer. No, I actually didn't know he wasn't my like actual blood brother until like, I don't know.
You just figured he was?
Yeah, I just figured he was. And I'm like, wait, why is everyone calling like Pops and Pops? And I have but this dad's daddy. And I'm like, this is weird. And the news was broken to me and I was like a mess, you know? Like, so I just have 4 sisters? I don't have any brothers? And that's when he was like, we're brothers. This is not going to be an issue forever, you know, until we work together at BYU. And everyone's like, hey, you guys aren't brothers, you guys are cousins. And that's it's a sensitive topic, man. Get us angry. So,
well, Biseka Hema is always telling it that he's a cousin of everyone that has any Polynesian blood in him. That's my cousin. I'm like, that can't be your cousin. He goes, we're all cousins. But I just think that that relationship between the two of you, never mind that you're on the same staff and doing this BYU stuff, it just seems to me like the two of you were very important to each other in your life long before you were going to be at BYU.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I have a deep belief in that. I know Kalani does as well. It's special. I'm super grateful because I know not everyone gets to enjoy a connection like that, even if it's your biological brother,
right?
A friend, whatever it is. Just having a relationship where you're just locked in with someone is a special blessing.
Fesi Sitake's on the Wise Guys. We're live tonight on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com.
So, speaking of relationships, you have a unique relationship with Coach Hill, you know, as well, and something that I don't know if I've seen this because I haven't been around the program the last couple of years, but I went to spring ball for the first time in a while, and just saw how the defense was just different, like the vibe, the energy. I mean, everybody was upbeat, everybody was flying around. I think the best word to say is urgency. It was a sense of urgency. And what the first thing that I haven't seen was you getting mad, yelling at the referees. And I'm with Brandon Bradley. I'm like, B, is he serious? And he's like, no, this is him, man. It's like he wants to win. He's a competitor. And so, I will always remember you yelling at a ref at practice, like it was a game. And so, my question to you is, with that unique relationship and going against this new defense, compared to the last couple of years, how's that brought out that competitive, edge and fire to you?
Yeah, it's part of that is they're just as competitive on the other side. I mean, Coach Hill, we had battles all the time. The last couple of years at Weber State, I was able to, as I was the coordinator, Coach Hill was the defensive coordinator. And so we had our battles in practice all the time. And so I think that's just a natural trigger. I'm like, even though I'm not fully coordinating, like you see him on the other side, it's like, all right, here we go, because he's ultra competitive. And Coach Hill is one of those unicorns in the profession where, you have coaches that, have a lot of strengths and they excel in one given area, and he really checks every single box. He's a great coach, a great teacher, a great motivator. It's awesome to be around him.
What will BYU fans appreciate the most from Hill, from Jay?
Just how much he loves football. You see it in the way he interacts with the players. You'll see it in the way fans will see it in the way they interact with him. He loves the game of football. He loves his craft and coaching, and I think we'll see that very soon here if you haven't already.
So as the passing game coordinator, and you're working close with A-Rod as offense coordinator, but for fans that don't understand that role, give us a breakdown of what you do and your impact that you make, within the offense.
We need to know who to give credit to. I think we give it to just A-Rod automatically. We'll say, hey, wait a second.
Yeah. It's kind of like when the fan approaches the Coach Sitake. If the play's really good, it was a pass, we'll just say that was from me. No, but, it varies every program, like that title of passing game coordinator. There's some places it's literally just the title. Yeah. I think this is just a credit to Coach Roderick. He is very, very inclusive. We go back, Coach Roderick recruited and signed me out of high school, and I played a year underneath him my freshman year before he left to Utah. So we have, we're on that same frequency, and we have the same beliefs, and same styles offensively. And he's been awesome. He's given me full autonomy of the passing game. gives me a lot of freedom on what to do. And so really it's kind of, as it relates to my role, it is as it is. I coordinate the passing game, and obviously everything stops at A-Rod, but I'll present everything to him.
So when you're game planning, like on Tuesday or Wednesday, and maybe Harvey's in there too from the running backs. I don't know what the room's like, but is it, hey, look, you've studied their defenders, and these plays will work, and you present them to Aaron, or how does that go?
Yeah, so there's, everything is, it kind of goes in order. And so on Monday, we're just trying to get the base down game plan, first and second down, and just the overall concepts that we think will work. And I'll present that base down game plan to A-Rod. Hey, these are the passes. These are the concepts I like. Here's what I see defensively from them. He obviously has his ideas, and we collaborate and nail down what that passing game is going to look like. And like I said, he's awesome. Basically, we're always on the same page. And then that happens throughout the days situationally. We'll get to red zone and third down passing games. The same thing. Here's what we see, and we just collaborate and nail down a plan.
In the game, you got a headset on. He's up in the booth with it. Are you guys talking there, or is at that point the plan's in place? And because you're also coaching the receivers.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's open dialogue all the way through the game. In between drives, halftime adjustments. We have our own channel as well, and so if there's a play, something I see, and I tell him, and he's great. I don't remember a time where I'm like, hey, Rod, I think this is going to be really good, and he hasn't implemented it, or call this play. And he's just super open-minded. It's one of the joys of working with him.
As you look at college football and certain conferences have just a style of play, or like this brand about them, right? And, the Big 12, I think the perception is, high scoring, big plays, long passes, and speedy guys on the outside from a receiving standpoint. As you guys look into the Big 12, have you guys said, you know what, let's try to make or change the offense or tweak the offense to fit that brand or that style of play offensively?
Yeah, we so it's a good question. One thing we've done consistently over the last 3 years, since 2020, we've been top 10 in those statistics, passing-wise, that we think matter. Yards per pass, explosive plays, red zone touchdowns. And so those are the stats rather than just total yards. And, those are the stats we go for. And so we think if we, and I know it hasn't been done in the Big 12, but if we can kind of carry that same consistency against these teams in the Big 12, we like our chances of that. So.
Shout out to Sam in Bakersfield, California. This is like Larry King Live. Everyone's just kind of East Houston. Forrest Gump 12 Abel from East Houston tonight. He says, "Hey, when I attend the Houston game, who should I cheer for?" If you need us to help you answer that question, come on. Plus, we don't even play Houston this year. I thought we were going to play Houston.
Maybe he can come up for the Sam Houston game.
Yeah, Sam Houston. Come on up. When the Big 12 schedule, not when the schedule came out, when you got word that we were going into the Big 12, do you remember where you were?
I don't. I honestly don't.
So how did you get the word?
Usually just someone. You have breaking news guys on every staff, that love to, hey, this coach got fired, or you hear this job, and
who is the breaking news guy?
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I'm not going to drop names, embarrass anyone, but I could write you a whole list after this. So yeah, I think it just went around somewhere in the offices, and
what did you think?
Oh, I was just super excited, man, and I can't imagine the people who've been here for a long time, especially at the administrative level. Just a lot of the work that it took to get there, and this is going into my 6th season, and I just myself have gained a great appreciation for, how we were able to navigate through this independence era. A lot of the good that came from it, and super grateful for the opportunity that lies ahead of us.
So that was brewing back in September. Before we beat Utah, so 2 years ago. So we had time for that. What about when the schedule came out here this last spring? The moment that was released, who did you look for?
Honestly, I didn't look for anyone. It was just kind of that whole, you knew it was happening, and that's like when it became like really real.
Yeah.
It's like you're dating a girl for a while, but until you buy that ring or whatever it is, that's what it was. And so I didn't have my eye on any specific team. It's just like, holy cow, there's a schedule in place, and this is getting real.
I looked for Texas. I just went right to where's Texas. I don't know. I looked for Texas before I even looked to see we were hosting Oklahoma. But that's just because we'd beaten Texas before and we'd been down there and all that. But What game did you look for?
Oklahoma. Just because I played my first game here, first Division I game. First Division I football game I ever played was against Oklahoma.
So he was in the secondary taking on Sam Bradford back at Jerry Jones' World when BYU beat him 14-13.
Yeah.
Is that Heisman year?
No, the year prior he won the Heisman.
And he injured his shoulder in the first half.
Kobe injured his shoulder, and he he wasn't the same since.
No, and the Sooners.
Even playing in the NFL.
The Sooners weren't the same.
Yeah, they weren't.
So then the schedule comes out and you look at it, and then you go back to look at it because now you're going to prepare for it. Still, did it all just look the same, or did anything start jumping?
No, it looks the same. I could not name every team we're playing this year, if I'm being real with you. Like I know who our opening 3 games are. Kansas, I think, is our first Big 12 game. I know teams we're playing. I don't know the order. I don't know. So I'm that boring coach that's just like, game 1, Sam Houston, bring it on. Let's go.
That's an ultra focus, because we're looking at all 12 trying to digest the whatever, and
we're looking at bowl game projections. We're looking at bowl game projections.
Yeah. I appreciate the focus. It's just bad memory, and don't care. I just care about game 1.
But
I'll take it as
we're
focus.
saying it's a gift that you have. We're all over the place, and it's a gift that you have. Has Big 12 membership helped you sell the program to the guys you're signing?
Yeah, you can. It's early enough to just, I don't know the sell. I'd imagine it is, but there's definitely a lot more interest, in publicity we're getting on the road when kids see the Big 12 logo and coaches. There's a lot of people, surprisingly, that are like, oh, yeah, that's right. You guys are going into the Big 12. It's so easy for us as coaches, players, fans to know that that's happening. But I've been surprised at how many people are like, oh, yeah, that's right. You guys are going. And so it's been a great marketing for us on the road to just kind of wear that and remind everyone that it's going to be a big year for us.
Do you think kids that were maybe on the fence with BYU and somebody else, hearing the announcement and knowing that BYU is going to the Big 12, you think that's helped maybe push them?
Yeah,
towards?
Absolutely, because we there's a lot of recruiting battles that we've gone to the very end with, and that's kind of been the deciding factors. Other coaches know the value of being, in a Power 5 program and being in a conference, and so they use that, those things as any coach would in trying to win over a kid. And so to not have to worry about that anymore, I think those are the things that are going to help us win some of these battles.
Now something that you do have to worry, because as a kid getting recruited, and I understand the challenges with the honor code and whatnot. And so when I first heard the announcement, I was like, yes, we'll be able to get those kids that are overlooked, maybe a little bit underdeveloped, that we can develop and bring in and really compete, talent wise. But then the NIL came. So now that you don't have to worry about competing, conference to conference or Power 5 to Power 5, what's it like now with the NIL?
It is crazy. I'm not gonna deny that, but I will say this: having high academics, having the honor code, having those things that people look at as potential hurdles that we see as strengths, I throw NIL right in with that. And I'm not saying that you just ignore it. We have to find a tactful way as a program institution to address it, to use it the right way. But I think it's still a filtering mechanism for us to find the kids that are really going to help us win games. And already we're you look at the transfer portal this year, guys we've gotten, Keaton Slovis, Caleb Etienne, these are big time players that a lot of other people would say we wouldn't be able to get, but it wasn't about NIL for them. So they're out there. It's going to be a challenge, but requires more work for us. But we've become kind of program as coaches to find these guys where that's not an issue.
This is really interesting to me, because understanding that dynamic. So when I played, Bronco would always say, or I would say just, us as analysts and even coaches, we say he's a BYU guy.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, if you know what that really means is honor code doesn't matter, right? The culture, anything negative that any other program outside of BYU would say to maybe defer a kid away from BYU. That's what BYU looks for in a kid,
right?
And it's putting a smile on my face now, because I understand that dynamic, which is we kind of want kids to weed themselves out, because we know there's a special type of kid that can make it here and can thrive here and can be developed and can be molded into a great player and make an impact on and off the field.
I'll say this: even though it's been quick with the institution of NIL, we already have reference points of kids who have inquired about NIL to us when being recruited, and it's not looking good for them right now in terms of just they're looking to transfer again, or they're not happy where they're at, or they didn't get like whatever it is. And so it's I actually, so far, it's been really nice for us to just weed out those guys and say, okay, of course this dude would appreciate NIL, but it's not what he's looking for. It's not the first thing on his mind. And so, knock on wood, I think it's just another, mechanism we can use in our filtering process.
I wrote an article a couple weeks ago about the transfer portal and the NFL portal. Those are two different portals. And the NFL portal is the most preferred. Mm-hmm. And as this program has put guys in the NFL the last handful of years, especially at quarterback, at receiver, at offensive line, a linebacker, that will trump the NIL enough for a kid to go, I'm going to BYU so I can go to the NFL. Not, I'm going to go to the BYU so I can make the most money and then maybe go to the NIL route. I don't think it's BYU's place to outbid Oklahoma and Alabama and Texas, because that's not who we are. However, BYU can sell access to the other portal. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you can compete for that same kid.
Yeah, we have a graphic that we use in recruiting that shows the current guys in the NFL right now and the total contract dollars. And that's a high number. Like, some people ride the wave of this is how many people we have in the NFL right now, or that we've put in the last 50 years. If you just look at right now actively in the NFL and add up all these contracts, it's a lot higher than a lot of these schools that we're going to be competing against and that we have been competing against.
That's good.
Yeah.
That gave me
Michael
goosebumps.
Davis can make $35 million this year.
Man.
Well, so I always talk about this all the time, which is the stickiness, right, of a, and usually it's BYU versus Utah, because there's a time where a lot of Utah players were getting drafted, and us as BYU players, we weren't getting drafted, but we were making it to the league through free agency. And if you look down the line of our free agents, like Taysom, right, we were sticking longer than the guys that were getting drafted. And so I think that's telling in regards to really developing a player that's going to have a career or put themselves in a position where they can have a long-lasting career, regardless of where they get drafted. But I never thought of that. Yeah. Right. Of showing the lifespan of the contract.
Yeah, it's a great exercise for anyone who doubts the portal to the NFL. I know the number, I know the team, so we're higher than them. Do your homework. It's public. Look up all the contracts and of the current players, add that up, and go ahead and do that with the rest, and I think you'll be happy.
I think Fred helps tip the scale.
Absolutely. No doubt.
Zach probably helps a little bit.
Zach's helping a little bit.
Taysom's got a good
Taysom's got. Jamal just started the 3-year, $12 million.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what the linemen are making, but Taysom's like a year into a 4-year, $40 million with a chance to make a little more.
A guy like I said, who's a free agent that's sticking around, Danny Sorensen, right? So just the longevity of it as well. Maybe he may not have the big ones like Zach or some of those guys, or Kyle Van Noy, right? But I think that carries a lot of weight, man. Because for me, if I'm getting recruited to see a number of different guys that are in from different, kind of generations and over a lifespan versus guys that have gotten drafted, but what are they doing in the NFL?
And what's nice about that's become a bridge for us. Like, that's just not coincident that those contracts are there. Yeah. That's a result of what BYU can do for you. The NFL wants to keep these guys who understand, maturity and structure and discipline, and that's part of what the BYU experience gives you. It's not a knock. I don't take anything away from their talent and what they can do to stay on that roster, but that's been a great selling point for us because it's real. Like,
when you're recruiting a kid, how far into the conversation do you go before you bring up Puka Nacua and Dax Milne, the two recent receivers that you've put into the league?
It's a long ways down the way, and
really?
Most of the time it's when they bring it up. Yeah, I try and maybe it's a bad recruiting strategy by me, but I try to avoid the bio, who I've put in, and it's like
or who your programs
or
put
who
in.
our programs put in, which I'm good with that. It highlights the institution, but that just happens way later down the road. I want it to happen organically. It's not what I have in my recruiting pitch saying, hey, you go right to that, because I think you're leading the kid away from like some of the things that really, really matter. Some of those early conversations you have to have. I don't want the focus to be taken away by going right to the NFL.
And I'm assuming that those things that really matter will correlate to the
Absolutely.
NFL, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of those initial conversations like? For example, something I thought was really different. I almost said weird. I said it, but different when Bronco out of all the other coaches that I was getting recruited by, and only a few D1, a lot were AA and D2, but he said, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah.
And I was like,
The Pro Bowl.
Married, but on the porch with a white picket fence, and he had this huge smile on his face. And I didn't know this until a couple years, after I was done playing. But he was like, "You're the first recruit that ever told me that," And I was like, "Well, just everybody's thinking that they're gonna go to the NFL."
Right.
I'm like, "Well, Coach, I am 5'6", so I'm kind of realistic." But so with your opening pitch, what are some of those things that really matter that over time will correlate to the NFL?
Yeah, I put so much value into how the kid interacts with his family members, his coach, just really how they are as a person. Those characteristics.
So you're watching the room when you're in the living room. You're watching all that.
Yeah, how he's interacting with his teammates on the field, or when if I'm watching a workout. Like I love to see that stuff. And I can see the guys who are like look in the corner of their eye, and so they're kind of turning up the fake a little bit. I can sense that. Whether it's a gift or not, I really do. I trust my ability. I'm grateful to just kind of read someone a little bit. So really, it's just kind of seeing how they interact with anyone around them, whether it's teammates, friends, teachers, girlfriend, whatever it is. Like that's literally that first impression. That's what I'm looking for. From there, it's just getting an understanding of their work ethic, kind of the things. What are the consistent points in their life? What are the things they do consistently for better or for worse? And then from there, it's just kind of just let it happen naturally.
I was taught this when I was courting my wife and thinking about marriage.
Yeah.
My pastor said you can really know the heart of somebody, but test this when deciding on a significant other is how they treat somebody in the service industry. So like waitresses, those type of jobs, and how they are with those type of individuals, will show you their true heart. So, that struck a chord when you said, I want to see how they are with their family, with their girlfriends or with their friends. And something that was interesting when you were going through this, I thought about Deion Sanders and his tweet that he had a couple months ago where he said, I want certain positions to be brought up in certain environments. So like I want DBs to be raised by single mothers, or defensive linemen be raised by, and the internet went crazy, right? And he had his reasons for it. Well, these type of kids coming from these type of environments tend to excel better in these positions because of the characteristics or the traits that they ended up getting from those environments. Do you guys think of recruiting that way, or break it down position based off of somebody's upcoming?
No, I wouldn't say we do it by position, but I mean I think the exercise is the same. Like why are these kids made up the way that they are, and can they fit here because of that, or are they going to struggle? And I just think it's you got to take that approach, and whether a certain position fits, I disagree with some of that, but I understand in principle, what's being, talked about there. And so, yeah, we all have our own criteria individually that we look for as coaches, but just overall as an institution in recruiting to BYU, I think that's approach you have to take is what are the circumstances of this young man? Why is he the way he is? And will he be a good fit here?
Brandon from West Jordan, nice to have you with us tonight. BYU passing game coordinator and receivers coach Fesi Sitake is on the Wise Guys, played college football at Southern Utah, where he later became the receivers coach, and he's been working with the receivers ever since. And now let's get to what I know people are really excited to hear from you about, as we've We've promoted it for some time now. Let's talk about the receiver room. How much better do you feel about that room today as opposed to when we talked on the last day of spring practice?
Yeah, I feel a lot better. You're always going to feel better as you add pieces to the room that you think can have an impact. I felt great about our room before we added a couple transfers, but I feel even better now just because depth's always gonna make you feel better. And I don't know who fits where exactly. We still have fall camp ahead of us and things work itself out, but I love the makeup of our room right now.
Let's run down some of the characters in the room and just kind of give us an update and where you think they can go in their development. Let's start with Keanu Hill, 6'4", 215. He's a junior now. 36 catches for 352 yards and 7 touchdowns, 3 of those in the second quarter against Utah Tech in a spectacular display. Forecast what you want out of Keanu Hill.
Keanu's, man, he's done a great job to kind of keep it simple with him. Keanu's someone who's I recruited him, but I wasn't sure what the end was going to look like. In fact, I wasn't putting it out of the realm that he could be an outside linebacker for us. You know?
Really?
He's got the genes.
see that.
Mom is Tongan, and he you could tell he was gonna get big. And I've had to manage his weight a little, but man, the dude just fight. He loves football. He's one of the most competitive guys I've ever coached, and that's the very reason he's been able to not only stay in the receiver group but really excel. I think what fans are gonna see is what they've already seen, but even at a higher level, just making big plays, bringing a personality and dynamic to the group of toughness and blocking downfield, making the big catches, in big moments. He's done that, and I think he's going to continue to do that.
When he walked by me during the last scrimmage over at the practice facility, I just looked at him, and he walked by, and I thought, now that's a Big 12 body. I mean, top to bottom, that's a Big 12 body. And I've talked to his dad, Lloyd. I've talked to Roy Williams, his uncle. Yeah. What a pedigree. I can't believe they even entertained the thought of him playing linebacker. But what a pedigree for you to recruit from.
Yeah, it's a blessing, and he's lucky to have those guys. He uses them. He doesn't take it for granted. And Keanu is a unbelievable young man too. He's very selfless. He's earned the right to be where he's at right now, and it doesn't mean he's had hard times and struggles, but just grateful. I love the kid. I'm grateful to coach him.
Awesome.
Let's talk about I think the guy that I'm most high on, and he was on his way to having a breakout year. I would still say he broke out compared to what we thought he was going to bring or what he was going to be able to produce. But Cody Epps, talk about him and how relieved. I mean, I think that was probably the biggest, most saddest thing when he went to the portal. I was like, this can't be happening. I mean, I felt like a little kid throwing a tantrum. But talk about that experience and the relief that you got when you found out he was coming back.
Yeah, look no further than that to explain the portal and how it's been. That hit home the message more than ever that the most important recruiting you have to do as coaches in this day and age is your own room. So I'm relieved Cody's back. A lot of things went into that, and out of respect for him, I'll keep the details out. But I'm just super grateful that he's here. He's a great leader. Has such a high football IQ, not just for the position, but for the game of football. He loves film, just very intellectual in every way you can think of. Great ambassador for our program. We're lucky to have him. He's a great leader. I still can't believe he has 3 years left.
Right.
It's crazy because it seems like he's been here for a while.
He tweeted out this week that he's been accepted to the MBA program at BYU, which is fantastic. And I know he got back. He worked through that portal stuff in time to still get over to Europe with the business school.
Yeah.
And that was big for him. We saw him really explode against Notre Dame when all the other guys were hurt. And then he got hurt himself, and I think it was Liberty.
Yep.
And then that's the last we've seen of him. And he didn't compete in spring because of healing up his shoulder. What's your forecast for him in the Big 12 this fall?
He looks great. We're able to some summer or some NCAA rule changes. We're able to see these guys a little bit in the summer. He looks awesome. He's 100%. He's ready to roll. Looks like he's back at it, and like he never got hurt. And so we're looking forward to what he can do this year.
Chase Roberts, another guy that I wasn't aware. These guys were talking to me about him during our pregame and our postgame shows or whatnot, and we saw some flashes of his greatness, right, of what he could do and the potential. And then, obviously injuries occurred. But where do you see him? I guess, you know what? I'll take a step back and say this. With your rotation, I've always seen if you're in the top two, right, first string, second string. To me, you're in the receiving core. You're a starter. Yeah. To me, right? Yeah. Is that how you operate yours as well?
Yeah, my philosophy is kind of instead of a 1-2, like I tier it. And there's some years where my tier 1 guys who are going to get 90% of the reps have just been 3. There's been years where it's 4. There's been years where it's 5. And this is going to be one of those years where it's going to be around kind of 5 guys who I'm throwing all 95% of the plays and just going through them. And there's a lot of variables in who gets those reps and all that stuff. And so time will tell who that goes to. But, yeah, that's my philosophy. I kind of tier my guys.
Okay. Now, I want to ask this next question as a football player. And I know you're going to give me an immediate answer. But is Chase in your top 5?
Yeah,
guys?
Yeah, like all those 3 guys who played last year and have proven their ability to contribute to the team and have an impact, absolutely. I'm not afraid to speak to those 3 who've already contributed for us.
What we saw from Chase in the Baylor game was phenomenal. Yeah. Really his first taste of Division I football. But I thought what was interesting is he's like a gazelle in the open field for the deep ball. Puka was spectacular in all that he does, but Chase with his speed and his size is such a mismatch for a safety or a corner. I mean, he's 6'4" and fast, 210 pounds. What can he do in this league?
Yeah, Chase has a really, really bright future here, and he can play football for a long time. You said it. He's got that rare combination of size and not just speed, but like fluidity, like wiggle. Like when he closes cushion and gives a little shake, like he does it like a lot of your 5'9", 5'10" guys. That's a rare combo, and so he can play in the slot. You can give him a jet sweep. You can put him outside. Like a lot of those ways you want to feature a wideout, you can do it with a guy with Chase, even though he's that big. Yeah. He's just a really good athlete.
Those are always the worst guys for me to guard. So I love guarding guys that were like Cody Epps, that were a little bit shorter, 5'9", 5'10", because even though they were shifty and speedy, their size you
didn't have to tackle a tree.
Well, but just from a body position as well. But going against guys that were 6'4", 6'5", but that can move like that, yeah. It's way harder to read. Because of their size, right? So it's harder to get a grasp on their hip if I'm running with them with a fade and I'm looking to see their outside hip if they're gonna break down and do a comeback. Little things like that, right? It's harder to get a grasp when a guy is so fluid in and out of his break and tall and has that body position. So when I saw him against Baylor, I kept looking back to them. I'm like, who is this? Yeah. Who is this kid? And so yeah, I'm excited for him, and I'm excited for your other guys, the newcomers that you brought on. Talk to us a little bit about the additions that you have onto your roster and kind of where you see them. Making an impact.
Let's start with Darius Laster. He's 6'3".
Yeah. Darius Laster, transfer from Eastern Michigan, from Arizona, played at Hamilton High School. He comes from a football pedigree as well. In fact, his brother is playing corner at Kansas.
And
nice.
So
there's a brother matchup there potentially. Yep. His older brother.
His dad was a DB, right? The NFL?
Played 10 years in the NFL at safety, was a free agent, and stuck around there for a while and had a great career. And then his older brother is on the roster. He's a receiver for the Bengals.
Nice.
As well. And so he comes from a football family. And so really, really excited for him. He's got great length to him. He has huge hands. He's super fluid. And he has experience, big game experience. So I've been really happy with him. I think he's going to be a great addition to us.
So he comes from Eastern Michigan, but he's a pro guy. Guys that have watched him run routes have said, we never know until you get him out on the field, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, he runs a route a little differently than some of the others. How do you get this kid from Eastern Michigan to come invest in BYU in Provo?
Yeah, it's it's the process. You know, when you have someone who comes from that type of football pedigree, he has a lot of reference points of like who knows what to look for, the things that really, really matter. And so initially, the first thing I did was talk to his brother, who's at the Bengals, was talk to his mom, obviously, who's the rock in his life right now, and just get a feel of what exactly it is they're looking for. To confirm if it matches what Darius said he's looking for, and it did. And when they are looking for a place that has a great culture and wants to win and play a high level of football and prove himself on a high stage, like when we check all those boxes, that's a clear sign for us. Like, let's go after that kid. And when he got here, he loved it. It checked all the boxes. We had a lot of players who were great. I always tell these young men who are recruiting, coaches are really good at giving you all the good, selling you. Mm-hmm. When you really want to know what the makeup of a program is, ask the players within that program. And even if they try and lie, you'll be able to. They're not as good of liars as coaches.
Not everyone will lie. Someone will come through.
Exactly. So they were all great with him.
So what do you expect from him in your offense?
Yeah, to come in. I don't dip into the portal. I won't dip into the portal at all as long as I'm a receiver coach here, unless it's someone I think can have an impact and do some great things here. There's still practices that have to take place.
Sure.
But there's no question I have high hopes for Darius, and I'm expecting to have an impact, on our offense this season.
So when it comes to two things when it comes to the portal, it sounds like, and I know this is the case, or it should be the case when it comes to the portal, is when schools are going in, they're thinking, I need to fulfill a need right now, right? Yeah. So I'm looking for somebody that I can put on the field and he can make an impact versus putting somebody into the program and kind of developing them. That's the first thing. The second thing is, how different is the recruiting pitch from the portal and high school?
Honestly, it really depends how many years they have left. What's crazy is a lot of schools now are skipping, not skipping, but they're kind of overlooking the high school / junior college route.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, let's just get a kid who's been a year at a program, and go after that. So I think that pitch changes depending on how many. Obviously, the less amount of years they have left, the more you're hitting that impact play right now. Others, it might be, come play at the Power 5 level. Maybe you're at a FBS school, at a G5 school that you're doing well at, but you want to play at the highest level. So it kind of varies, but what that does for us is it does mean that there's going to be a lot more high school and junior college kids out there to recruit.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this the last couple of weeks, and I don't know if I would have got to BYU if I was coming out now, and that's because going to a junior. So going to a junior college after my first year, I graduated, so I could have left early. But I had D2 and AA schools, so obviously the goal of going D1, I was like, okay, I'm going to stay. And obviously I got here, but strategically, I'm thinking kids don't have to go to junior college no more. Yeah. They could take a lesser, quote unquote, lesser, scholarship, go to a G5 school, AA school, maybe D2 school, and that can kind of replace the junior college route. And so my question to you is that more appealing? A kid, coming from, or not more appealing, but if you were to give high school kids advice, would you say, hey, take the lesser scholarship versus going the JC route to get something bigger?
That's tough because there's a lot of variables. I'll say this, me personally, I wouldn't lead a kid. Like, I would just give him my experiences, but those are huge decisions, and I would kind of just I see the value if a kid chooses to do that. I'll say that. But I'll never push that, and I think it's happening a lot, man. You're gonna have kids who are gonna go to FCS programs, and if they ball out,
they're out,
gone. Yeah. And I can empathize, man. I was FCS for 7 years. Yeah. That's a tough spot to be in.
And the thing to me is like, at least I'm getting some type of financial care in going to the FCS level, and at least I'm getting a higher level of competition versus junior college. I mean, I feel like I'll be more prepared from a college standpoint, like a culture standpoint, living on my own, away from my family standpoint, and obviously, junior college, you don't. There's no scholarship. Well, at least in Cali, there wasn't scholarship. I was working and going to school, so to me, I'm thinking, man, this is a nicer life doing this, and I can still showcase my skills, only because I know I'm not stuck. I'm not handcuffed because of the way college football and the portal is right now.
Yeah, exactly. Just a great point.
How many years does Lassiter have?
He has 2.
So he has 2?
Yep.
And let's talk about Keelan Marion, 6 foot, 200-pounder out of UConn. He's got 3 years of eligibility. I know you're excited about him. What will we see out of him?
Yeah, Keelan is a basketball player, and those are some of my favorite guys to recruit. When there's a bunch of different stuff, but if I were to just be very general, high level, like basketball is my favorite sport when it comes to receivers playing another sport.
How come?
Just I just seen there's a higher understanding of spatial awareness of how to close cushion, attack a guy. There's so many moves that cross over, pun intended, I guess, that cross over into football. Just playing fluid. There's not a lot of rigid basketball players out there. There's a ton in the game of football, even at the receiver position. Yeah. So it's hard to. So I just love the ability to evaluate guys on the basketball court. So Keelan really excelled growing up. He's from Atlanta, born and raised, and was in the AAU basketball scene. And so he's you can see it in the way he plays. He's very agile, fluid, natural, got great hips. Really good burst to him, great understanding of the position and how to play it, releases, attacking leverage. And so I'm really excited for him. He has a little bit of what Puka does when you put the ball in his hands. I think he's just got a natural ability to make people miss and can make the big play too. And he plays with, it's crazy, he's 6 foot, got real long arms, but he plays like he's 6'4", 6'5".
Really?
Like he goes up and get it. If you watch any of his highlights, he started as a freshman at UConn, and he broke his collarbone in his first game the next year. So he's kind of been really flown under the radar. Like he picked up football late, really high ceiling, and I think he's going to do a great job.
Ruthie is asking, any of your receivers have potential that reminds you of Puka? And maybe you just answer that. Marion has a little Puka in him?
Yeah. Everyone and kind of in their little way. But, yeah, I would definitely say Keelan's got some of that in him. So
you could always tell as a corner who played basketball based off of the body position. Yeah. There'd be so many times where I would come in and close on a route, and I'm like, there's no way this he's not catching this ball. And then I would look, I'm like, oh, he's throwing this. Oh, okay. But based off of the placement of the ball and the body position of the receiver, like boxing out was always a struggle for me, especially with my size, right? And receivers that understand or that played basketball, they understand that positioning, and being able to make themselves open, based off of their body position. My question to you is: Are those kids that play basketball and maybe started playing football later? Is it more of a development, or do they pick it up almost immediately?
I think the learning curve is a lot faster, because if you think about basketball and how fast-paced it is, there's so many built-in reps they just have naturally, both offensively and defensively, of that spatial awareness, of closing the cushion, understanding leverage and angles. Like it's there in the back of their minds. And so I really truly believe the learning curve is faster when you play basketball at a high level for a long time, when you turn it into football.
So would you say that's something as far as your recruiting criteria, right? That would stand out. Like, hey, I would love to have a kid that played basketball as well.
Yeah. I would. It's not a make or break, but I'll tell you, it guys can get favored. If I have two guys and I'm like, gosh, I'm torn.
What was
this
your
one
average?
Plays basketball. I was like, I'm going with the pooper.
Now you got a tight end that played basketball with Isaac Rex. Yeah. How does the tight end, and one of our popular questions on the live stream tonight, how does the tight end position factor into your passing game as the passing game coordinator? You got Steve Clark, who's the tight end coach, but they're very much a part of your game plan, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And, tight ends are always going to be a huge part of BYU offense, especially, and I can speak for Coach Roderick under this because we talk about it. Like, you have to have them. To me, just like it would be with receivers as well, it kind of varies game by game. Like I know we're on the offense and we're on the attack, but if you're playing a defense schematically that does something, or personnel-wise that says, hey, let's take advantage of our tight ends, then we'll do it. They'll see more. And I think a lot of times, because of the history of BYU and tight ends, there's been games or moments or seasons where like people are like, gosh, are we using them that much? Right. But then there's games where it's like, holy cow, they're being featured a lot. That's intended, and that's what we're going to continue to do moving forward. Is use our offense according to kind of who we're playing.
And him being healthy, which he wasn't all last season, is a game changer for the game plan, isn't it?
Yeah, he's such a mismatch because he's great in the receiving game. He's an anchor, attached, and so when he's healthy and ready to roll, we're so much better. And he was great for us last year, even though he wasn't playing 100%. But even there, he was just a factor in with defenses and how to plan against us.
It's our pleasure to have BYU passing game coordinator and receivers coach Fesi Sitake on the Wise Guys. Just a couple of more questions, and we're sure glad you carved out some time for us and for our global audience tonight. We mentioned the 5, the 3 returners and the 2 newcomers, but you've also got Parker Kingston, who's super fast, Dom Henry, who's super fast, Hobbs Nyberg, who's shown his versatility as the punt returner. Who else are we missing that are going to factor into this Big 12 season?
Yeah, you named 3, and then Talmadge Gunther is someone as well who's just he's done so great for us on special teams, so reliable. Talmadge is like an extension of me. I don't say that in a way where it's like that's his role. Like Talmadge has gotten so much better since he's been here. But talk about what you're looking for as a coach and a player. He checks it all, and he's an extension of me. He's a great leader in the room. We call him Grandpa. He got 2 kids, and I can't believe he has 2 years left because I feel like
can't believe he's got 2 kids.
I know. Yeah, 2 years left, 2 kids. He's like 28. So,
I was always made fun of the guys because as a senior, I was one of the youngest on the team from starting.
Every
right?
announcer, when they run out of things to say, they talk about how everyone's been on their mission trips and they're 29 years old, which is not the case.
I'm 21, and it's like 20. It's like sophomores that are 23. Juniors that are 23.
Some.
There's a lot, but I always say this: if it was such a big advantage, why don't other schools do it? And I don't really think other schools know, the fight and the battle that these kids got to come back to from a mission, from taking 2 years off. It's tough. So, but when it comes to the biggest challenge that you see heading into the Big 12 with your group. And I don't want to say your guys specifically, right? But just as a receiving core, what do you think some of the challenges that you guys will face? I
mean, really, I'm super excited. Like physically being able to go against that competition, like I don't have doubts in that. I just think it's going to be managing the noise and chaos around this groundbreaking season. Like that's just we're foolish as coaches if we just try and ignore what these guys have to face in this digital era, and there's a lot of noise out there, and we have to combat a lot of things from parents, fans, whatever it is, and a lot of it's just well intended, but some of these guys aren't don't know how to handle that, and so there's a big educational component to that as a coach to just, hey, like you got to look at this, that fine line of looking at this as another game, making sure they're confident and ready for the battle, but to not worry about all the pressure that might be adding up for that. So that's really the biggest thing is making sure that they're level-headed going into this new era. And if they are, I don't have any doubts, in what these guys are able to do.
Do you guys have like strategies or plans around that? And this is why I asked this, because I had a moment or two going into my senior year where I put unnecessary pressure on me, literally, for no reason. I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but, I went and got, counseling from our sports, psychiatrist, and literally after a couple of sessions with him, I was good. I mean, that weight was lifted off of my shoulders. And so, I asked that question because I wonder how much coaches can do. And because, we see you guys as fathers, right? And so there's a certain, point where we don't listen to our parents, and there's a certain point we don't listen to our coaches. So Bronco didn't even try to sit me down. He just said, okay, you got to go talk to this guy, and so I'm wondering if you face those same challenges, or is it easier just to send the kid to, a certain dedicated resource?
Yeah, I obviously I don't claim to be professional in that field, but I'll say this, that the more you address those things just as a whole, you have to every single day. I believe in that. And so the mantra in our room, for example, for the receivers is, can you be committed to the process without being emotionally attached to the results? And what you're doing is teaching these guys this lesson that these results, based things that media, a lot of people that are out there naturally. That's what's causing a lot of anxiety and stress and pressure. And so in terms of, as far as I can control it, I want to hit these things every day, that there's a process to everything we're doing. And whether that equates to wins or you starting or all this stuff that they're thinking about, I'm not saying it's going to heal them, but if we're not doing our part as coaches and addressing those things every day that can help alleviate some of that stress, then we're not doing our job. And I feel at that sometimes, but I would just say it's a boring answer, but you got to hit it every single day.
How hard is it to look a kid in the eye and say, it's not working out for you? You're not going to start here. Yeah. When it's like you were a football player, when you were, it's your hopes and dreams.
Yeah. It's the hardest part of the job, man. Yeah. Is the most rewarding part is giving a kid a scholarship. The hardest part is taking it away. And, you know, right after that, underneath that is, if you don't take it away, just letting them know that, man, it's not in it for you right now. Like the future doesn't look bright. That's tough. But I'll say this, my first half of my coaching career, I struggled with that. I try to find ways to sugarcoat a harsh reality, and that is not good. It backfires. Yeah. And you don't feel fulfilled as a coach. But being honest, blunt, but in a tactful and loving way truly is, like, that's what's helped me. I fail in many ways as a father, but I look back, I'm so grateful for the opportunity I have to be a coach, because it allows me to just be real with people, but also to do it in a way that helps you know that realness is coming from a place of love, that it's not, hey, you suck, if I play you, I'm getting fired, like that adds to the very pressure and the stuff we're talking about. Yeah. So if I can tell a kid, it's still hard to say, hey, you're not playing, but let me tell you what you've done, like, to this room. Let me tell you how you've changed me. Let me see the good things I've seen. Well, help them understand that they've been a part of this process, and not, you know, make them to feel emotionally attached to results. Then I feel good about that, and it definitely makes it not as hard.
Yeah. I imagine that would be tough.
Yeah.
One last question, and we're going to hit you up with 5 quick ones and get to know you just a tiny bit. But these last couple of years, you've had Zach Wilson thrown to you guys. You've had Jaron Hall thrown to you guys. So now here comes Keaton Slovis. You watched him all through spring. You watch him in workouts. How impressed are you in what he brings to BYU, and what do you expect from him throwing to your guys? Yeah,
I've been really impressed with him. Keaton is unapologetically himself. He's a great leader. He's a natural fit here. You would think he served a mission and grew up in Utah and whatever it is. Just really? Like, hey, he's so comfortable in his own skin. I've been really impressed with him. His arm, he's got an elite arm. I think he's going to do a great job. What that leads to, honestly, my expectations are that he's just going to be a great leader. He's going to be all bought in. He understands the offense. He's going to fight every single game. We'll see what that equates to, but I'm super grateful he's our quarterback.
Would you say that he's like his personality type fits a BYU guy?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's a perfect fit.
All your receivers have told me that, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, what?" He goes, "I just feel like I've been here forever." I go, "Why? Why do you feel that way?" And he goes, "You know, these are all my friends. I didn't even know him a week ago when we talked to him when he just got in." He goes, "Now they're my friends. I'm going to church with this guy. I'm going to a movie with this guy." And for a kid who was at USC and in that culture, and then at Pittsburgh and that culture on the other side of the country, to come here and just, it's almost like he was made for this moment.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And you appreciate those guys, because now add Keaton to the list of guys who we can use as a reference point in recruiting, guys who maybe question, like, how is it if I'm from a different state, or I'm not LDS, or he's been other places. He's seen a lot of head coaches. He's seen a lot of different offenses, a lot of different teammates. And what a blessing it is for us to have him to be all in. When he says those things, you can feel it. He's genuine. Yeah. He loves being here, and he's loving his experience so far. And so I'm grateful that he does just that, because we're gonna need it.
Look, you put him in the NFL, that's 3 straight quarterbacks. It's going to get crazy around here, because who wouldn't want to be here? Because that's the portal they want to be in, right? Get me a job. And it's just exciting. Fesi Sitake is here with us. We're going to finish up with 5 quick questions. These are just, we've asked everyone on the staff. They're rapid fire. You don't need to think too much about them.
Got it.
But it's going to reveal a whole lot about you.
Like Family Feud, 5 seconds or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go, buzzer will sound if you get past 5 seconds. All right, Brian, start us off.
Favorite sports movie?
Ooh. I'm going to go with Coach Carter.
Coach
Ooh.
Carter. That's our second Coach
Nice.
Carter in a year.
Oh, really? Who's that?
We just had, who did we have? Oh, Gennaro. I think Gennaro said
Gennaro-
Coach Carter.
That makes
Oh,
sense.
if it was Jen, let me change my answer.
All right, favorite singer or band?
Ooh, that's a good one. It changes, but I'm gonna say, can I give two answers?
Yeah.
Early, like young, growing up, because I gotta go different genres. Boys to Men all day.
Nice.
When I want to get in my feelings, I listen to them. And then right now, Morgan Wallen actually hits hard on my playlist. I'm very musically diversified. I take pride in that.
Yeah.
That's all right,
I
Morgan.
can listen to any music except if it's extreme in any way. So, heavy metal and honky tonk, and I love country, but not honky tonk.
Right.
I love
There's a big
classic
difference.
rock and alternative, but I hate the heavy.
Keith Urban is a country guy who plays rock.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's not honky tonk like some of those others. But
Yeah.
you're right. Okay, all right.
Favorite breakfast cereal?
Oh man, people are gonna kill me for this.
No, they're not.
Because I
It's just-
hated it growing up. Man, I love me some Raisin Bran.
Raisin Bran.
Yeah, I know. If you want a sweet, whatever, cute, it's O's, Grandma's. The yellow box, the ones that like shred your
Yeah.
gums. Those are right up there with me. But I'm just gonna say Raisin Bran
Yeah.
to be different.
Stick with your guns. Raisin Bran.
Because I'm open to change. I'm promoting, evolution.
Coach.
There's
look,
nothing wrong with Raisin
I
Bran.
just saying, and they know it. We don't judge, we just pray. I'm judging you right now. I'm judging you.
Pray for me, then.
I will. I'll put you in my top 5 prayer list tonight.
All right, here we go with the favorite Kalani Sitake childhood memory.
Okay, I'm gonna get super kind of sentimental here. When my mom died at the wake, I don't remember a lot about the funeral. It was a blur to me.
Yeah.
I do remember very distinctly, and still to this day it hits me. Staring at her casket, and all I remember about the whole event was his arm around me and him standing together, looking at my mom, and him telling me, "I love you, bro. Everything's gonna be okay." And that's like just forever ingrained in my head. So yeah, that's what first popped up.
See, that trumps Raisin Bran and Boys to Men. That's
I feel bad
that's
for
just
you.
feel bad,
classic
yeah.
right
I feel
there.
bad
Yeah.
I'm convicted now for judging you.
Yeah, good. I answered like that on purpose to help film.
You see how you brought this volume down too?
Yeah, it was good. Favorite game on the schedule? You've said you really only know the first 3, but we're playing 12. 10 of them are P5s for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Big 12 for the first time ever. AP5 for the first time ever. If not one game, what about this opportunity?
Yeah, my favorite game I look forward to the most is Sam Houston. I just wanted to
I knew
throw
you were
that
gonna
out
say
there.
that.
So I was going to flip it and have you guys guess which one, but I'm just grateful. Like, I'm just excited. When you look at last year, or really since we've been independent, kind of the elephant in the room was when you lose a game, like whether you're 11-2 or whether you're 8-5, you're going to play the same bowl game.
Yep.
And that's just, you can, it's just out there. And so just the opportunity to like every week address like, hey, here's where we're at.
Yeah.
Like, we still got a chance. You look last year at college football at all the conference championship games, those who won it or were in it, there's a ton of 9-3s, a couple 8-4s. And it's like, so it's just a great opportunity. And I'm just excited for that.
It's a new season every week.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's
Yep.
interesting that TCU went to the championship game, but Kansas State won the league.
Yeah.
To illustrate your point,
Exactly.
There's a lot of balls in play, and
Yep.
that's exciting. Do you have a date on when camp's going to start? It's first week in August.
August 1st, I believe.
August
Yep,
1?
Yep. We check in the last day of July, and I think the first official day is August 1.
Last day of July. I gotta write that down because that's when I can come get gear.
There you go. There you
It's
go.
all about gear, isn't it? Fesi Sitake with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course, pleasure was mine.
A podcast will be up tomorrow. I'll send it to you. Our live stream are all around the place. People are excited that you were coming because they're invested in the receivers. And to lose Puka and Gunner, even though they were never healthy on the same night, I don't think in the same game. But these big boys you have coming at 6'4", 6'4", 6'3", and then a 6 foot and a 5'10" with speed, and the others in the room, and then your 6'5" tight end who's back healthy for the first time. It just seems like you've got so many options. I don't know how you're going to pick a starting group, but does it matter because is the next group coming in on the next play?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how I am either. So once again, pray for me. We'll see how it works out. But I always appreciate all the support. I love all of Cougar Nation, and I'm excited for the season.
All right, Fesi, thank you. The
Appreciate
great Fesi Sitake, and again, you can see that deep blue on Fesi and Kalani's relationship on the BYU TV app. It's free. And it's 8 great minutes that will change your life. Fesi Sitake, receiver coach, passing game coordinator, and he gave us a lot of time tonight, and I think that's awesome.